Against this right back, Charlie's definitely.
Because you always use that active red light defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on.
Just as Ian Wright said there, people deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. Got the superstar himself in the building. But we say, my guy, good. I can't hear you, Is
no,
everything?
my bad.
I was getting scared. I just got a new mic. I thought I messed something up. You scared me still.
No. We're all blessed, man. Appreciate the invite as always.
Nah, man, appreciate you for coming through, man. Whenever I ask you to appear on my channel, you never act up. So large up yourself on that, man. As I said, I hope you're all good. But I want to jump straight into it. Now that the dust has settled, what started off probably in August, minimal optimism, was hoping for top 4. We enjoyed the ride. We all know how it ended. Now you've probably had time for the dust to settle and get all your emotions, like myself, in check. What have you made of the season, man? The good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, it was painful towards the end, but to be quite honest, I see it as progress, and it's progress that I expected. Like Arsenal are doing what I expected at the start of the year. I said to myself, the target's 80 points, right? And we got over 80 points, and that's where I'm like, okay,
college,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I can see that we're making progress. I knew that we would be good this season. Winning a title was always going to be difficult, and we fell short. Listen, it is what it is. You could call us bottle jobs or whatever, but the reality is we fell short, and we know why we fell short in terms of squad depth, in terms of a few little areas here and there, and that's why it's so exciting, because we're going to address that in this window, and I think people are going to be surprised again next season.
Listen, let's not talk too tough. Like last season, let's just let our preseason work its magic. Let Super Mikel Arteta do what he's doing, and we'll take it from there. I agree with what you said. I think ultimately there's been progress, there's been improvement, there's been somewhat of a foundation. It's just a case of taking the good and making it great. Evidently, there's several areas that we need to improve. Actually, I think as a result on the training pitch, especially when we get to the end of the season, like we've seen in crucial moments, we fall short. So we're going to have to do what we need to do. What would you give the season out of 10?
I'll give it a solid 8, and I think that's because we got top 4 and we got above top 4 and we fought for a title. So we did above what we expected going into it. It was about, getting top 4. We did that with 4 or 5 games to spare. We fought for a title, and that's why I give it an 8 out of 10. I could actually go 8.5 as well, because to go that close, we were 35 game weeks, top of the league or something like that. We were very good for most of the season. I'll go 8.5.
I'd go 7 purely because when I consider everything, I think the league has been amazing by Arsenal standards of previous years. We've passed that by flying colours. Obviously, we've grabbed top 4. I think there's been a lot of improvements. I don't think the mentality is that of champions yet, but I do think there's been an improvement. Obviously, we're scoring a lot of goals. We're sharing the goals around. There's been moments where star players haven't necessarily performed. Other players have picked up the pieces, where the Martinellis, the Odegaards and the Sakas, they've been extremely consistent. Big up Gabriel and Benjamin White on that as well. But ultimately, like you said, we fell short. I think domestically it would have been lovely to bring it home. I think we crumbled when it was in our own hands. Europa League, very disappointed. Sporting Lisbon can be added to, the Olympiacoses, the Villarreals and things of that ilk. FA Cup, fair enough, you played Manchester City, but we always want to bring the FA Cup home. Hopefully we do next year. The League Cup, unless you're a Man United fan, isn't the most biggest of importance for us, but it's always nice to bring a trophy, and we didn't. So ultimately, I'd probably give it a 7, and I would have taken a 7 in August. I would have bit your arm off for top 4, really and truly. Who would you say, in fact, let's start off with kind of the underwhelming question, who would you say is the underperformer from Arsenal this season?
Underperformer. Now, the first team was very good, so I can't really say any of the first team members. We have to talk about players that, maybe had a lot of expectations going into the season and haven't quite performed. To that, you go probably, I don't want to be rude to ESR because he's been injured, so ESR would be one of the mentions, but, you can't go 10 league goals and have not a single goal all season, is what it is. I would then, to give ESR the benefit of injuries, I'd probably go Fabio Vieira, and I still rate him very highly. I still think he'll be very good, but I think in the case of £35 million, you want a bit more of an impact in the Premier League.
Hasn't really grabbed his chances yet.
Yeah, yeah, you can just sense that if he's not going to be a starter, which is fair enough at this stage, you've got to have more of an impact off the bench. And I think his cameos off the bench haven't been as good. When he started and, you put him in the entire first 11 where everyone's fit and available, like against Brentford, he can be a good player. But in the case of coming off the bench and not really making an impact, I'd go Fabio Vieira. But, it is being harsh because we've had a very good season.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I think you could easily say Smith-Rowe and Tierney. Obviously, Tierney, the system, all of that stuff. Smith-Rowe, as you alluded to, hasn't had a good time with injuries. You could also say a couple of other players. I actually wouldn't have said Fabio Vieira, but now that you say it, it's there. I feel there's enough for me to persist with him. I mean, if me and you are sat here on yours or my YouTube channel still discussing the kind of same things about Fabio, then I think we have to readdress it. I think, I give him the benefit of the doubt because he did sign when he was injured. He has to adapt to the league. He has to adapt to what Arteta demands of him. But I just don't like you. I think he's shown his technical level. I think he's shown a little bits and pieces what he could do. I just feel he hasn't grabbed his opportunities because I remember, I say a few weeks and a few months ago lightly, but there was a time where I was listening to Mikel Arteta's press conference and they asked him about, obviously, like you just said, the first team. And he said players that are kind of giving him sleepless nights. He said Fabio Vieira was one of them. Now, granted, I don't know how many starts Fabio has had, but I remember the Bournemouth game. He's been, exclusively, apart from the Europa League, was playing out wide. He was playing as an 8. Don't think he grabbed his opportunities. I would say because I rate him so highly, and whether he's a starting quality player or a rotation player, I would say Tomiyasu for me, and it's only because I think ultimately he's being killed by his high standards. I feel apart from locking up Salah, haven't really taken opportunities. Yes, he's been injured, he's barely been in the team, but I just feel whenever he's played, like I'm not going to kill you for making a mistake against City, but excluding locking down Salah, when you've played, I don't think you've provided enough for your ability, definitely what you set. So for me, I would say Tomiyasu. Who would be your young player and player of the season then?
We've got a lot of young players.
Yeah, man. The whole squad, really, and truly, isn't it?
Yeah, because our player of the year could also be a young player as well. What's my criteria for young? Is it under 23 or is it under 24? Is it?
Now that you say that.
Because the PFA always go under 23.
Let's say 23. Let's say 23 because that kind of rules out Odegaard for the young ones.
So you're saying player of the year and young player of the year. So, okay, This is weird because I'll go young player of the year. I'll go Saliba, even though he's older than Saka. Because Saka's 21, Saliba's 22. But I'll go Saka player of the year and Saliba young player of the year. Saliba because listen, I'd argue he's our most important player. You can't come to the Premier League, right, and have all the pressure on your shoulders and fans go, they call him the next Van Dijk, and then
after all the hype as well for the years prior as well.
And he lived up to it, and that's crazy because a lot of players they fold under that pressure. And he's a level raiser, right? He came into Arsenal. We were a top 4 fighting team. We're now a top 4 team, and we're a title fighting team. So he's a level raiser, and he's helped the Arsenal team grow. Saka, I'd go player of the year mainly because I know Odegaard's gonna get the Arsenal one, but as great as Martin Odegaard's been, I say it in a sense of game-changing moments, game-changing goals and assists. I think Saka's the highest Arsenal player. So that's why I'm looking at, in the toughest moments, Saka has produced. I know towards the end it kind of faded off, but I look at it and go, look, he didn't have much of a rotation, not much of a rest either. So if we can get a little bit of a rotation for Saka next season, I think we will see that more consistently, at least towards the end of the season as well.
I agree, man. For young player, I'd go Martinelli. I think he's had his first standout season with 15 odd goals, and I think he deserves that. Hopefully, he can keep doing that. And I think he's one of our most, when I look at mentality, I think even though he's young, he's just really with it. And I actually saw that, obviously, when Martinelli came in, we all saw pre-season under Emre, he was doing his thing. But the day I realized that Martinelli's different is actually a game we lost. If you remember when we went out the League Cup a few years ago, when Runnison was playing in goal, I remember watching that game and Martinelli was geeing up his teammates, and he's still experienced but inexperienced, so you can imagine then. And I've just seen him develop. So young player, I'd go Martinelli, probably easy. Like you said, half of the team is young. I agree with you. Big up Odegaard, captain, doing well. I would say Saka. I think Saka is our most reliable player purely because you look at the fact of I think we got 80 odd goals in the league, and as much as I like that, I don't know for sure. In the same way, if you're Spurs with Kane, regardless what happens with Spurs, and if Kane stays there, X amount of goals, Liverpool with Salah the same. I don't know if Martinelli's going to get 15, Odegaard's going to get 15. The jury's still out with Jesus. Saka for the last 2 years has dropped double figures. Like you said, he's been our most reliable man. If me and you was to go through the goals, how many of the goals has he scored which have been like decisive moments? And I think his finishing, evidently, if you're getting double figures, your finishing has improved, but he scored a number of cute goals. Last game of the season, I remember against Villa, obviously, probably his best goal of the season was probably United. So I would go Martinelli for young player, Saka for player. Who would be your, I don't want to say underrated, but like someone that isn't really, because it's easy for us to sit here and say Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, they play in attacking positions. It's easy, isn't it? They're going to be part of the highlights. So, like, underrated performer, really, because I'm going to say mine, I'll go Gabriel, because people are always there when he makes mistakes and no man's perfect. But I think he's done very well, if I'm honest. So I'd probably throw that to Gabriel. I might even say Partey, because I know when we've hit the tail end of this season, everybody, you've seen it yourself, not a single player has been safe by Arsenal fans. But I think Partey's been as fit as he probably has been, really, really and truly. So you could say Partey. Again, even that, you could actually say Granit Xhaka. I'm going to go Gabriel, though. By yourself.
Yeah, I think the answer is Gabriel as well, mainly because he was getting so much flack at the start of the season. Like, Saliba's here and Gabriel's down here. And
it's like a shiny new toy, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Gabriel actually is the answer. But, you could also go Ben White, because he doesn't really get much of his flowers.
Shout as well.
And, he's been so important to the team. He started most of our games. And then, you mentioned Granit Xhaka, 7 goals, 7 assists, very underrated. What he does for the team. And I think fans will realise next year in some tough moments.
We're going to miss him.
We're going to miss his experience. You're going to miss a player like his character as well. Xhaka deserves the praise. Obviously, Partey you mentioned as well. I think Gabriel Jesus towards the end of the season, and I know a lot of fans don't think he's an out-and-out goal scorer, but 11 goals, 6 assists, and he missed 4 months with injury. And how he's elevated the Arsenal attack. I'd go Gabriel still, but I think Jesus deserves a mention as well.
I agree with you. I think, it's dumb because ultimately we need our striker to score goals. And I would say for Jesus, he's been a fantastic player. Like his impact goes beyond goals. But fundamentally, we needed a goal scorer. And that's probably been the one thing against his career. Like I remember when he signed and I was, we know who Gabriel Jesus is, but you do your research, you try to learn about the player. I just found that anytime he was talked up by the Brazilian national team gaffer at the time, Pep Guardiola, they spoke about the things we're waffling about now, but they don't describe his goal scoring ability. Like he's been described as a defensive forward, and I think we need all of that. Big up Eddie and Ketia for deputizing for him, but I think Jesus has been good. Didn't plan on asking you this, but now that you say it, obviously from August till now, we've obviously signed Trossard, Jorginho, Kirill, Jesus, Zinchenko. Forgive me if I'm missing anyone else out. Who'd be a player of the season? Signing of the season.
Signing of the season. Zinchenko, because again, there's I want to give praise to everyone because most of our signings have been good, but you have to give this guy's flowers. I've seen this whole, he's not the best defensively, but Mikel Arteta's not building a system. Yeah, he's not building a team to defend first. Yeah, you want to be good defensively, but it's to attack first. It's to control games, and Zinchenko allows Arsenal to control games better. That's why even next year you might have Kivior here and there, you might have someone else there, but Zinchenko will start most of the games because most of the games Arsenal will want control, and this guy will give it to you. And there's very few profiles like him that are able to progress the ball consistently into the final third. His numbers are up there like a midfielder, and you got that as a left back. So again, he's another one of the Arsenal level raisers. Him, Jesus, Saliba were all like almost new signings, right? They came in and they took Arsenal from a team that was not quite top full level to a team that was, maybe title contention. And if they had stayed fit, like if Saliba had stayed fit, I think Arsenal would have won the league title. So I think Arsenal were there and thereabouts anyways. But I go Zinchenko mainly because of how much he raised the level on the left-hand side.
It's a good shout, man. To go back to the underrated comment, not that he would win it, but I have to just throw special praise to Reece Nelson. In your little minutes, okay. You look like you found a little role for yourself. So just hail you up. I'm torn, man. Do I go with the Brazilian bias? As you know, I'm a Sunday League fullback as well. Do I go with Zinchenko?
You see, you've got all the options here. That's a good sign. It's not
exactly with good problems. There's been the theme this year for us. I'm gonna go Zinchenko.
Yeah, over the past year would have easily been player season Saka, young player Saka. Everything Saka, right?
To the point where the club, you're right. The club they probably know a Saka player of the year. They probably thought, let's just give it to someone else with the greatest of respect to Martin Odegaard.
It was like remember the whole PFA, the player of the month award went to Gabriel. Gabriel. Then Saka, that's what it was. Now we've got options now. It's good.
Good problems, man. Good problems. Obviously, we're kind of going through the season. We can't not talk about the manager. What is your feelings on Mikel Arteta? And what do you feel he's doing good? And obviously, unless you're winning Premier League after Premier League, there's evident areas of improvement. What improvements would you like to see specifically from the manager?
I think areas of improvement is definitely being a bit more proactive in games. I think sometimes he's a bit like Arsene Wenger. He trusts his players too much. And that's a good sign, by the way. You want to trust your players.
But it's a double-edged sword, yeah.
In certain games, you need to be ruthless. You need to go, look, this player isn't working out. I need to change this now. And we've seen Guardiola do that. You see him make subtle little adaptations. And Arteta will do that as well, by the way.
You saw it with Bernardo Silva against us when he moved in from left back to right wing, to echo your point, yeah.
You've got to sometimes admit that my initial plan is wrong. And sometimes
be humble to admit it, yeah.
sometimes I think he just thinks his system is so elite that it will make a chance, it will do something, and most of the time it does, by the way. But I think sometimes in those certain games where it is going against us, he needs to be a little bit more pragmatic at times, and especially next year in the Champions League, you can't play your style of football and win games like that. You have to be pragmatic, and that's where I think Arteta needs to slightly just adapt his game, less of an improvement, more of an adaptation.
I'm with you, man. And, as I said, what do you think? If you had to say one good thing, because me and you, the whole episode could be about what Arteta is doing well. If you had to hone down on one thing that Arteta has done well this season, what would you say?
I would say accountability. Every time we've lost a game, he's always been the first to go, no, it's my fault first. So he knows everything that he needs to improve upon. We talk about it all the time, and fans will say this and that, but he knows more than anyone because he's looking at himself in a different standard. And I think that is what I like the most. He's always accountable. You rarely see him throw his player under the bus. He always say, listen, it's my fault, I will improve. And then maybe behind the scenes, he is having a go at the players, but he keeps that behind the scenes.
Facts.
And we've seen Frank Lampard throw his players under the bus. It's not a good thing. You want these players, that the players will look at that and they'll feel protected. And they like that. They like the whole, this guy is my manager, and they want to play for him more and more.
For me, it's a double-edged sword, because I think this is a good thing and a bad thing. Unpopular opinion, out of all the things, as you said, accountability, he's clearly a good man manager. He's able to provide that spark to players, channel them in different ways. We've seen it in the all or nothing. He'll try crazy ideas like light bulbs and all of these things. Things are great from Arteta. We're scoring a lot of goals. I don't think we're where we need to be defensively, but we've improved. I would say the same good thing and it's the same bad thing. Unpopular opinion, I like the fact that for the large majority of the season, he's kept the same players. Because there's been times, obviously he hasn't always had his players, all of that sort of stuff, but you can't have consistency in the Premier League if, even City don't do it. It's not 22 different players in the next two games. We the Xhaka and Partey, the Saliba and Gabriel, not that there's many options, but relationships are being built. I would also extend that to a negative, because once you start getting to the end of the year, the beginning of the new year, where all the games are coming thick and fast, as you said earlier, that's when you might need to play a little Tierney against Nottingham Forest, not necessarily be fixated on the inverted fullback sort of thing, and just rotate a bit more. As you saw, you said it as well, maybe, even though I agree with Saka playing every week because we need to win games, maybe if we could have taken him in and out a couple of times, we would have got a more refreshed Saka and things like that. So I would say that's the thing I love and kind of want to see a bit more improvement from him. And I would also say we're kind of probably seeing it towards the end of the season. But when I look back in hindsight with how it panned out for Aubameyang, for Pepe, initially for Ozil, because he was playing under Arteta, and allegedly Xhaka, who's going Leverkusen, the ruthlessness, as much as Arteta, I feel, sometimes suffers from that Wenger thing. There's too much sentiment around certain players. I can't say he's not being ruthless. Smith-Rowe's not getting minutes because right now you're not the guy. Obviously, it looks like Xhaka's days are done. So I would say it's a good thing that he's playing the same players, but it's also a bad thing. And hopefully with more depth, that helps us out, man. On the topic of that, if we start looking at some transfer news, first thing I want to ask you, we've been linked with Kai Havertz. Where you at with that? Take it away, mate.
I'm trying to. There must be some sense behind this that we can't understand right now. Because if they want him, and it seems like they do, I think even Fabrizio Romano might have said today that Arsenal have some. I think I've seen some sources say that Arsenal have interest. The only way I look at it is if he sees him as like a false nine who can finish, even though he can't right now. Maybe he sees little things he can do in training to make him a more clinical finisher. But right now, to be honest, for 70 million pounds, wouldn't go near him. And I think, look, I still struggle to understand what he excels at. And I think if they're paying that much money for someone, he has to have that one trait where he's like one of the best in the world at. And he's got a lot to his game. You don't score. He used to score 20 goals a season at Leverkusen.
Champions League winner, Champions League winning goal, yeah, German so international and that.
He's got something about him because I think even for Germany, he's got like 12 goals and 30 appearances, which is very good.
It's like two different players for Germany and Chelsea, really.
So maybe it is just a Chelsea thing, because even Jorginho at times look poor there. And if you put him in the right system and the right environment, they can thrive. Maybe Arteta sees that, but look, I like the idea of saving players, but we're past that stage now in the project. We need
Not
to
everyone needs to be saved, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Arteta sees him, goes, I can make something out of him, but you know what? Yeah, you probably could, but he's João Felix out there as well. You probably make something out of a lot of players. But find players now that are ready to make an impact straight away. If that's Kai Havertz, go sign him. If you think he's that, because look, we've had more unpopular signings in the past. We spent £25 million of Ramsdale, and fans are like, why have we done that now?
Benjamin White at the time.
Ben White as well. So Mikel Arteta knows a lot more than us fans. And if he wants Kai Havertz, then fair enough. But it will take a lot of research, a lot of breaking down to understand what it is that he wants so badly in him.
I mean, I'm a bit like you. Like, obviously, it's not my money, not a financial expert, but for the price tag allegedly that Real Madrid are not willing to pay, where you're looking at 60, 70 for the wages he's going to be on, considering the fact of, he was touted as the next Ozil in Germany. He's gone to Chelsea, he's won titles there, and coming into our system with your experience, I kind of want you to hit the ground running, kind of alluding to what you're saying. I want a bit of assurances. And I feel when you look at our whole team, beyond the obvious players, Trossard, Jorginho, Granit on paper, Partey, everybody's still kind of discovering themselves. And yeah, you need to be multifunctional, but you need to lock down one thing. And I just feel it's another kind of project, and we've got too many of them. I like him. I think you got a good technical level, but it's like, what is your position? You can play out wide. You can play as a 10. You can play as a false 9. You are obviously 6 foot plus, so you are a bit, you're not physical, but you are physical. I just don't know what you are. So I could see why I'd be interested in him. He's a good player. I'm a bit like you. It's that, Arteta, you're the guy, so I won't blindly follow you, but if you're with it, then cool, I'll give him an opportunity. But it's not one that I'm like, wow, about really and truly. I don't see how it, unless, again, Arteta knows, I don't see how if we signed Havertz today, we've gone up another level. Carrying on that theme, where are you at with Declan Rice? It seems like we might just get him. We can't count our chickens before they hatch. Are you confident about signing Declan Rice? And are you confident that we could sign not only Declan Rice, but Caicedo as well? Rice-Sado, as they say on Twitter and that.
Yeah, I saw a new Rice-Sado today with the O as
with the O at the end. Yeah, I mean, it's a great prospect. Bro. It could be lit. It could be lit. Good days could happen at the Emirates, bro.
But listen, if we get both Rice and Caicedo, I'm sitting here. Look, I've already said that I think Arsenal are going to win the league next year, and I truly believe that. It's a feeling as a fan, right? If we get Rice and Caicedo, I will be even more confident that we can do that. And I'm looking more at points tallies. So I'm looking at next year. I think to win a title, you're looking at 95 points, and this year we had 84. Would a Rice and Caicedo elevate us enough in terms of depth, in terms of rotation, in terms of quality to an extra 11 points? I think so. I think they're both fantastic players that can improve our system even more. Let alone the likes of Saka and Martinelli getting better as well, and Saliba staying fit and available. That being said, in terms of Rice, I am confident because you can see all the reports, and it's from all the decent guys as well. It's not just sometimes it's reports from Italy and that's it, and you're like, okay, I'm going to good resources here. David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, they're all saying the right things for Arsenal, and it seems like Arsenal have. They've got like a assurance from West Ham of how much they want, and Arsenal.
We've done some groundwork on the back on the back burners, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like today what I've read today is that Arsenal have the payment right, but it's just about structure now, which is a positive sign. And I think if you get that
that's
done,
also
now,
where I get scared, bro, because they might say, you know what, we want it in a different way.
Now, but from what Team News and Ticks was saying, I think he said there is a provisional agreement, and it's like a gentleman's agreement with West Ham and Rice, right? It's just about reasonable fees, and £92 million is a reasonable fee, and I think that's what it's looking like, is how much they want up front and whatever. But Arsenal wants him, and Mikel Arteta wants him, and I think Arsenal realise the importance of getting it over the line, just to show not just to the Arsenal fans the ambition, but to the entire world, we're the real deal here.
And to the players in that you're coaching, exactly. Really, because they're going to be like, wow, bloody hell, because they don't live on an island, we've all played football with the team. You're like, yeah, we need this and that. So you're right on that, man. And like you said, you get depth as well with Rice, man.
Yeah, a lot of people will see Rice, and it's weird because can you call him a superstar like Ozil was? Probably not, because he's not a Real Madrid player.
It's not his skill set.
Yeah, but if he played for Real Madrid, Arsenal fans would probably call him a superstar. So it's weird when you sign a player from West Ham. But in terms of his skill set and what you're getting from him and his quality in the league, I think he's up there with the very best. So you're getting a player, and as you said, if you're the rest of the players, you're going, oh, okay, now I got a proper player here. It's not like a youngster I don't know about. This is a real deal, and
200 odd appearances for West Ham, just won a title there as well.
How often do you see teams take another team's captain? It's very rare, and he's not like a captain where he's just become captain at 35. He's a 24-year-old captain. He's done
the captain thing properly, yeah.
He's a proper captain. He's like, when we had Fabregas at 22 or something like that. It's like that type of, captain. So, yeah, I think it will get done, and I think because the reports are in our favour, as long as that guy Chelsea, Todd Bowley, stays away from it, I'm confident. If he enters the race, then my confidence goes away, because that guy is reckless. He loses all composure.
That's where I'm shook at Caicedo, bro, because I just see them saying, you know what, but even though there are reports saying that Chelsea don't want to bid him, they'll match whatever Arsenal will match, whether they'll pay their variables and their instalments in more favourable terms to Brighton is neither here nor there. But I think they're going to sweep up Caicedo, man. I can't see us getting both. I want to be wrong, man.
The only thing I say about Caicedo is it seems like and it seems like this. The Arsenal, I think, remember the reports in January was that Arsenal stepped away to show respect, and fans laughed at that, going, "Oh, what do you mean respect, right?" Maybe this is why. If we do sign him now, if we get over the line, maybe it's something like, okay, cool, we don't want to sell him then, we get that. Let's keep that deal and the negotiations open, relationship
And we'll
open.
talk to you in the
and
summer.
then in the summer we go again, and that's what we saw yesterday from them. A Brighton was a reporter, and Charlie Huffington, I think his name is, and he said the
Yeah,
same
him
thing.
and
He said,
Chris
"Listen,
Wheatley. Yeah.
yeah." So there's clearly, and he's a Brighton reporter, and I think he's been reliable in the past as well. So there's something there. It's just a matter of if Chelsea are reckless. If Chelsea are reckless, we won't get him. If Chelsea are sensible and they try to go match Arsenal's offer, why would you then go to Chelsea over Arsenal, who've got Champions League football, who are closer to our title, who are in the top half as well? You know, it is a matter of, as long as Chelsea don't become reckless, I think Arsenal have a chance, but Chelsea are definitely the favourites in that.
Let's assume we sign both of them. Yeah, ideal world, we sign both of them. Is that enough to go, like you said, to make the difference, or do you think we need a bit more in other areas? Even though Rice is fairly adaptable and Caicedo's shown he can play on the right hand side as well.
It will help Arsenal, for me, get over the line. And I say that because towards the end of last season, the reason why Arsenal collapsed was because when you take Saliba out of the Arsenal team and then you take Partey out here and there, whatever, you lose composure in the build-up phase. It was unreliable. You look at the game against Man City, it was all on the left-hand side trying to build out there. We couldn't go to Holden, right? When you've got Rice and Caicedo, you're getting two more technically secure players that are comfortable playing under pressure, but also players that are versatile. So let's just say Saliba gets injured next season. You've got Ben White fit and available. Move him to centre-back, play Caicedo at right back. You're keeping your technical level pretty high there. And I think Arsenal realised to win a title, Mikel Arteta realises, it's less about being, decisive and clinical and having a 20-goal team striker. It's now about control. How can you control games? How can you sustain pressure? How can you keep teams
It's about
in
being
their half?
over-prepared, man, really.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what Caicedo and Rice would give Arsenal is transition control. So teams that try to counter-attack Arsenal, you got two players that are dual winners. They can
finally
intercept.
have some physicality in the middle of the park, which we've
got
struggle
physicality
against,
as it is now, Xhaka and Partey are big, but what Caicedo and Rice are good at is they're good at winning their battles.
Yeah, they got
good
their
legs.
dynamic is the best way to go.
Very good legs, and Caicedo is more like a dual winner. Rice is more of an interceptor. It's a good balance there. And you got Martin Odegaard on top of that, and you got maybe Fabio Vieira rising, Smith-Rowe getting back into the team with fitness available. That's why I think, if we get both of them over the line, there's a very good chance that we could do something special next season.
And the more I think about signing Declan Rice, the more I'm for it. Like, I think we have to accept, is Declan Rice a £92 million player? In today's day, yes. Evidently, for real football fans, not. But we either scout these guys, the Caicedos, the Rices, before they're household names, or we put the money down, or we just cry about what we don't have. For Rice, obviously, at 24 years of age is on his side. You look at him as a captain, he always fronts up to the music as well. You can tell he lives and breathes for football. He's a family man. Ironically, when the under-18s lost in the FA Youth Cup to West Ham, he was there. So he's someone that fully immerses himself in the club. When you look at him, he's not flying forward all the time, but he is known to make them forward runs. He obviously can play as a centre-back if required. He's at home as a 6. So I think I wouldn't say he's a blank canvas, but for Arteta, he could be a blank canvas to become a multifunctional player, a bit like the Benjamin Whites, Zinchenko's, technically Martinelli, Trossard, and probably a few names that are missing as well. Again, some reports today, I don't really believe them because we have seen that Smith-Rowe's future is at Arsenal. David Ornstein said he's not for sale, but some reports have said Smith-Rowe could go in the other direction. Would you do that if it meant getting Declan Rice? Smith-Rowe on a permanent for Declan Rice plus cash.
No,
let me down now, man.
That's a very poor deal. If you're going to sell Smith-Rowe, you sell him properly and get proper money for him. So we don't need to give West Ham Smith-Rowe for him unless it's unless they go Smith-Rowe and it's like £40 million, where you're going, okay, cool, you're getting a sign.
It's not alone. I don't want to hear it. I can't lie.
With Smith-Rowe, I know the report said that Ornstein Arsenal want to keep him, but that could be seen in two ways. Either us Arsenal saying we actually want to keep him, or that's like them going to other clubs. He's our player, and if you want to sign him, you're gonna have to pay proper money. Because him,
Balogun, Tierney, Balogun's contract. We don't really want to sell. I say them free because we don't want to sell them. They're just there's circumstances and the things like that. I would describe Smith-Rowe and Tierney as available for the right price. Everyone's got a price. If you give us over 30 million for Tierney, sorry, Flying Scotsman, you're gone. Smith-Rowe, you make an offer. While I think it'd be a bit harsh on him, it is for an academy prospect, and obviously Balogun's forcing his way out. Yeah. You're right on that still.
It's like Alex Iwobi went for £40 million, but he was never actually for sale. It was just a play. He's our player. We like to keep him, but if you pay us a decent amount of money, he's
Joe as well.
Joe Willock as an example there. So Smith-Rowe has a price tag, and I think Arsenal saying that he's our player is just them going, right, if anyone wants him, because teams will want him, by the way, Aston Villa and so on and so forth, you're going to have to pay serious money to get him, and that for Arsenal is even better in terms of incomings then. And if you sell Smith-Rowe, then you can make a move for a Javi Simons or for James Maddison or a different profile to add on top of it, a bit more of a ready player now.
You're right, still, and that's when I look at Smith-Rowe. Obviously, you've probably seen the reports. He's training as an 8. Obviously, his direct competition at this moment in time is Martin Odegaard in that 10. Is probably fighting for that 8 role with Fabio Vieira, and he did make his name playing off the left, which seems to be Trossard or Martinelli's. But form is temporary, class is permanent. You were starting quality, man. Go and take a shirt and give Arteta problems, really and truly. Obviously, it looks like we're going to sell Balogun and Pepe. Are you confident that we'll actually get significant money for outgoings? And when I say significant, I mean just in terms of shedding people off the wage bill, picking up some sort of fees to at least offset what we're spending. That could mean we actually go after some other signings and whatnot, and also on that as well, bro, not only in terms of outgoings, how are you looking at Edu this transfer window?
Yeah, I think this is a big mission for Edu. Sell players properly. And it's
I don't think he's getting no sleep.
People look at Edu, right, and they go, right, he's the guy who puts people on the table together. Then it's over to the actual Arsenal negotiators to actually negotiate. So we're talking Richard Garlick and people like that. People have this idea that Edu Gaspar is sat in negotiations and he's the guy placing the bids. And no, he's just the intermediary. He's the guy.
People think he's just sitting doing barbecues, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Bro, that barbecue meme's hilarious because they honestly, people think that's like when he's actually doing a barbecue, they're going, why are you not on your phone? And why are you not making
it's a tough job for him because you don't see what he does. We can see with the players and Arteta what they do or don't do.
His job is to make choices, right, in terms of, okay, these players might be surplus to requirements. Then he goes to talks to clubs, goes, okay, this player's available. How much are you trying to give for this guy? And then it's over to the Arsenal guys to actually negotiate contracts. But I think Edu Gaspar's got a big mission this year to put the right offers on the table and then let Arsenal negotiate for them. Pepe, I think, will get nothing because he's on a massive wage.
Could even rip up his deal, really.
That's what's probably going to happen because who's going to pay Pepe, what was he at, 190k a week, 200k?
Yeah, 190,
who's paying him that?
No one's and a transfer fee, it's a myth.
Yeah. No one's paying him that. So that's the issue because the player won't accept that. He'll rather stay for an entire season, collect his wages, maybe win something at Arsenal and then leave a year after.
Maybe even Cedric. You could extend that comment, you're right, to Cedric as well. And I can't blame them. Money's money.
Yeah, money is money. And this is mistakes that Arsenal have made in the past that they can't make in the future. And they won't probably, but that's a mistake they made in the past. And that's why, I think Balogun will get decent money for because I think Arsenal, he'll have a lot of offers. People will want to sign him. He's not on a massive wage contract. And the likes, if you want to Inter Milan or AC Milan, the only concern I have is if you go to Italian
Napoli
clubs,
as well.
Will they pay the money up front? Because what these guys often do is they go loans, options to buy, loans, obligations to buy. I want to see Balogun actually get a decent fee. We could look, how much would he cost Arsenal? If we were trying to sign a striker who's 21 years of age,
damn well we're paying that British tourist tax, that's 50 million.
Exactly.
But you're right, because that's what they're going to do to us, because they're going to say, Premier League, we ain't got the money you lot got, we're broke.
No, but
man.
We've got to look at he's an English player, and how many young English players have gone for decent money in the past? Let's look at Dominic Solanke. What, 25 million pounds?
Stupid money, bro. Stupid
25 million pounds. And again,
I guess that comes down to the negotiation team, like you said, because you have to give credit at the time to Liverpool for pulling that off, and there's probably plenty more examples of such.
But also, I think that what helps them is that he was wanted by a Premier League team. And so if a Premier League team wants Balogun, Arsenal can demand a lot of money because those guys have money. If you then go to teams in the Serie A and in the La Liga, those guys just won't have the same finances to just put on the table. So I'm hoping there are Prem teams that want to sign Balogun, because if there is, Arsenal will be able to get a very decent amount of money.
And better money up front as well, because let's remember, it's a bit like Tammy Abraham, who does have a buyback clause and a sell-on clause with Chelsea. Like you kind of said, to echo your point about foreign teams, they're probably looking at his role. He's 22. If we can get him for 30, 40, he can do what he done at Reims, stay here for a couple of years. We'll sell you back to that same market like you see all the time for a nice, handsome profit, and we'll do it again and again. He actually, ironically, a few weeks ago was linked with West Ham. As you know, it's silly season. I don't know how credible they are. I wouldn't want to sell Balogun initially, but if selling him is a means to an end to reinvest in this side, where the pursuits of midfielders are concerned, right backs, centre backs, definitely, someone said you could sell Balogun, get a more physical number 9 to complement the squad in Jesus or another winger. If you was to sell Balogun for 30, 40, and they're saying Moussa Diaby is linked with us is 50 million euros, then that kind of pays for itself, give or take. If you was to sell the Austin Trustees, the Patinos, the Cedrics, every little kind of help sort of thing. We know we've got 8 million in the bank. We've got an extra 2 million million because Fulham stayed in the division. 6 million's gone because Maria stayed in the division with Monza. So we're doing all right, man. So you make sense. You made a great comment about Pepe, where I think everything's up for debate. I think in an ideal world, I'm sure you'd agree, we sell a man, we get, his wages are gone, we get some money. I probably think we're going to rip up his deal. I think we might even say, do you know what? Let's go pick up a couple of million on loan. They'll pay some of your wages, run down your deal, is what it is. The unlikely event is, Arteta says, you know what? You helped us with the FA Cup. You're actually a decent player. Can't be part of the squad, but we're probably past that. Where you at with William Saliba's new deal, man?
It's going to happen.
I hope so, man, but are you nervous?
No, I'm not nervous. But I'll be more nervous in his next contract, because that's the problem. This contract, I don't think is a problem, because I look at him and go, look, why would you not want to stay at Arsenal? We're going to
finally got clarity of your future.
Yeah. You got a decent amount of money. You love London. You love Arsenal. You're a big Arsenal fan as well. The fans love you. The fans absolutely adore you.
Got six chance from day one.
And you're in a Champions League next season. You're in one of the most exciting teams in the league. Why would you want to leave now? So I think he'll stay, and I'm very confident about that. My only concern is past this contract, when it is, a few more years' time, if you have won a league title by that stage there, then the likes of Real Madrid, those big clubs will try to go and sign him. But that being said, look, what are Real Madrid going to be in a few years' time compared to Premier League teams in terms of finances? Because the way Premier League finances are going, we're getting even richer, and those guys are going to have even more and more, or less and less money to spend. That being said, yeah, I think he'll sign the contract, and I think he'll be this summer, and then it'll be William Saliba number 2 at the back.
I agree with you. I think I would extend that not just to him, but the Odegaards, the Martinellis, the Sakas, and I can't begrudge them. As much as you love a club and all of that, you've got one career. Out of all of them, not saying they don't, but Martinelli, and maybe it's youthful naivety from him, seems to be the only one on that. Yeah, I will stay at Arsenal for life. I'll do this, I'll do that. The others aren't. And I think you made a great point with the contracts, because the next couple of contracts, which realistically, even if Saliba and Saka and all these guys sign 4 or 5 year deals, they will get renewed terms within that duration. Then it becomes a point where Arsenal have had a great season now. Is this now the minimum expectation? Are we going to be on an upward trajectory? Or worst case scenario, best/worst case scenario is, best case scenario is obviously winning stuff, but worst case, if that makes sense, would be we're developing, but we're still not quite getting over the line. And when you look at a man at 22 in his prime ages, it is what it is. I share your confidence, but until things are signed on the dotted line, Arsenal.com come out with things, I'm a bit nervous, man, really and truly. So yeah, I don't really have a clue. My last question for you, and you must have seen it, Jorginho's been linked with a move back to Italy and a move away from Arsenal already. Would you sanction that, considering Granit could be and probably will be leaving?
No, I wouldn't let him go. I actually think he's very important. Not just in terms of behind-the-scenes character experience and Champions League experience. This guy was once the UEFA Player of the Year. But more importantly, when you see him on the pitch, this guy's always commanding stuff. He's always saying where to be. He knows Mikel Arteta's system. It's like Xhaka. He's a bit of a coach.
He's like a lieutenant.
You don't lose that profile. Not when you're losing Xhaka as well. You need to have experience there. And in those tough moments next year when you're in the Champions League or in the Premier League, this guy has been in those scenarios in the past. Euros finals, Champions League finals. You want that profile there. You take him out of there and you might sign Rice, you might sign Caicedo, you might sign very good young players. But they've not been here before.
They've not been there, yeah. They've got transferable experience, but they've not been there and wore the t-shirt.
You need to have experience. And that's why I'm surprised that Arsenal letting Xhaka go in the first place. But cool, you let him go. Same. Cool, now you keep Jorginho. You don't let Jorginho go. Unless, of course, you get a massive amount of money, in which case then you might have to sign some experience instead.
I'm with you with that. I think with Jorginho, he's on the wrong side of 30. He's got a year left on his deal with the option. So this was always a short-term fix. If money is presented and you say, you know what, we'll take that money and do other things, we'll get his wages off, fair play. I agree with you, because that's the first thing I saw about Jorginho when he signed for Arsenal. Thiago Silva came out and said, we're going to miss him in the dressing room. So that kind of put the thoughts into my head. And if you listen to some of the Arsenal players when they speak about that. And as you said, you see it on the pitch. He might not be the best, but, he can be part of the squad and he can be utilized in certain games. That's where I know Rob Holding's going to catch a stray here, but, I'm here for guys like Rob Holding, for Jorginho, innit? They can be voices around the dressing room. That's the sort of benchmark we need. And they're the ones that you want to promote good habits so that when they leave, there's lasting things there. But yeah, man, I can't lie, Babs. This has been fantastic, man. Again, any content to come out today on your channel. Can't imagine you haven't released anything before I let you out. Yeah, I got a transfer video out tonight. All the rumors, all the bids. We'll see what happens, innit? People, you again, I can't imagine you don't, but if you don't know about Babs' channel, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. It's in his link is in the description, and it's also in the title. As usual, once again, thanks for coming through, my guy. Whenever I ask you to come on my channel, you don't act up. So again, one love for that one, my dude. Let me let you get out of here. Smash the like button, subscribe to both channels, do all of that good stuff. Enjoy your day, people. We're out, man. Love.
Because you always use that active when defending. I think it's like